The spaceport was noisy and full of life. Ships came and went, their engines roaring. Merchants shouted prices for food, tools, and strange glowing stones. Smells of oil, smoke, and alien spices mixed in the air. Ethan moved through the crowd, holding a small bag of parts he had bought for his workshop. He had lived on this frontier planet for 3 years. Work was steady, fixing ships and building small machines. Most days were simple and quiet. But today, something caught his eye. Near the edge of the market, a small figure stood alone. She wore a faded cloak with the hood pulled low. People walked around her without looking. A merchant waved his hands angrily, telling her to move. 2 children laughed and pointed. The girl didn't move. She only stood there holding a thin stick in front of her, tapping the ground gently. That was when Ethan noticed her eyes were closed. No, not closed. Her eyelids were pale, almost silver, and unmoving. She was blind. Ethan walked closer. The crowd seemed to avoid her like she carried some kind of disease. A man whispered to his friend, "That's one of them. Her kind brings bad luck." Another voice added, "I heard they carry curses. Don't touch her." Ethan felt his jaw tighten. He hated when people judged others without reason. He stepped up to the girl. "Hey," he said gently, "are you all right?" She tilted her head slightly, as if listening to the shape of his voice. Her lips moved slowly. "I am fine." Her voice was soft, but there was something tired in it. "You're alone?" he asked. She nodded once. "Do you have somewhere to go?" This time there was a pause before she answered. "No." Ethan glanced around. The market was busy, but no one cared about her. In fact, the merchants looked annoyed that he was even talking to her. "What's your name?" "Leora," she said simply. "All right, Leora. My name's Ethan. I have a place nearby. Warm, safe. You can rest there if you want." She lowered her head, as if thinking. "Why?" Ethan frowned. "Why what? Why help me?" she asked. He thought for a moment. "Because everyone deserves help, and because you look like you could use a friend." Her head turned slightly toward his voice. "People do not say that to me." "Well," Ethan said with a small smile, "then maybe you've been meeting the wrong people." She didn't smile back, but she stepped toward him. He noticed her cloak was thin, almost worn through. Her boots were dusty, the soles nearly gone. Ethan guided her through the crowd. A few people muttered as they passed, but he ignored them. His workshop was just a short walk away, a small metal building with a faded sign, "Silver Wing Repairs." Inside, the air smelled faintly of oil and warm metal. Tools hung neatly on the walls. A small heater hummed in the corner. Ethan set his bag down and pulled out a chair. "Sit. I'll get you something warm to drink." Leora moved carefully, tapping her stick against the floor before finding the chair. Ethan made tea and handed her the cup. She held it in both hands, almost like she was afraid it would vanish. For a while, they didn't speak. Ethan busied himself sorting the parts he had bought. Finally, Leora said quietly, "You are not afraid of me." Ethan turned to her. "Should I be?" "That is what others say," she replied. "My kind is not welcome. They think we bring shadow." "I don't believe in shadow curses," Ethan said. "I believe in fixing things that are broken." She tilted her head again. "I am not a machine." He chuckled softly. "No, but sometimes people need repairing too." It was a strange conversation, but something about her voice kept him listening. It had a calmness, yet underneath it he could hear sadness, like a song played in the wrong key. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the workshop grew darker. Ethan switched on a lamp near his workbench. Leora finished her tea and sat quietly, her hands folded in her lap. He was about to ask if she needed a blanket when he noticed something odd. There was a faint light. coming from her. At first he thought it was a reflection from the lamp, but the glow was soft and steady, pulsing, gently under her skin. It started at her cheeks and spread faintly down her neck and hands. Ethan blinked. Leora? Yes? She asked, her head turning toward his voice again. You're glowing? She was silent for a moment, as if she didn't understand. Then she lowered her head. It happens sometimes. Only when I am safe. Ethan felt a chill, but not from fear, from curiosity. Safe? Yes, she said simply. Safe and warm. The glow faded slowly, but Ethan couldn't forget it. What was she? Why did people fear her? And what did her light mean? Outside, the market was closing, but Ethan had the strange feeling that his quiet life had just changed. That night, after showing her to a small guest bed in the corner of the workshop, Ethan lay awake, listening to the hum of the heater. Somewhere, in the dark, Leora slept. Through the thin blanket, he could see faint threads of light moving under her skin, like stars drifting in a night sky, and for reasons he couldn't explain, he felt protective. Morning came slowly to the frontier town. Thin sunlight pushed through the dusty windows of Ethan's workshop. The air was still and cold. Ethan woke early, stretching his stiff back. He glanced toward the small bed in the corner. Leora was still, asleep, curled under the blanket. Her pale hair spilled across the pillow. But what caught his attention again was that faint glow. It was softer now, like the last spark of a fire before it fades. He made breakfast, bread and hot tea, and set a plate on the table. "Morning," he said quietly. Leora stirred, sitting up carefully. She kept her eyes closed, feeling for the edge of the bed before standing. "Morning," she answered in her soft voice. "Hungry?" Ethan asked. "Yes." She ate slowly, each movement careful, as if she counted every bite. Ethan noticed how she turned her head toward the sounds around her, the hiss of the heater, the creak of a chair, the clink of his tools. When they finished eating, Ethan decided to ask the question that had been on his mind since last night. "That light, what is it?" Leora's hands rested in her lap. "It is part of me. It has always been there." "Does it hurt you?" "No, it is life. My people. We carry it inside." Ethan leaned forward. "Your people. Where are they?" She was quiet for a long time before answering. "Gone. My world is gone. Burned." Ethan felt a heavy knot in his chest. "I'm sorry." "There is no need to." "Be sorry," Leora said. "It is the way of the stars. Some burn bright, then fade." She didn't explain more, but Ethan could hear the sadness in her tone. He tried to change the subject. "I have some work today. You can stay here, rest. I'll make sure the heater stays on." But Leora stood. "I can help." He hesitated. "You can't see the tools." "I do not need to see. I can feel," she replied simply. Curious, Ethan handed her a small piece of metal to test her. "This is part of a ship's engine. Tell me what you feel." She ran her fingers over it slowly, her brow furrowing. "Cold, but also heavy. There is iron inside, and something else." Ethan blinked. "You can tell that just by touching it?" She nodded. That gave him an idea. He brought over a small glowing crystal he had found months ago in an asteroid mine. It wasn't worth much. The glow was weak, but it was pretty. When he placed it in her hand, something happened. Her body lit up instantly. The glow under her skin grew stronger, spreading to her fingertips and cheeks. The pale silver patterns on her face shimmered like starlight. Leora gasped softly, holding the crystal close. This is warm. I remember this feeling." "What is it?" Ethan asked. "It feels like home," she whispered. Ethan was amazed. "That crystal made you glow brighter." She smiled, the first time he had seen her do it. "It is not the crystal alone. It is the gift of giving." Ethan tilted his head. "What do you mean?" "When someone gives with kindness, the light grows stronger," she explained. Ethan wasn't sure if it was science or something more. Mysterious, but he couldn't deny what he saw. For the rest of the morning, she helped him in the workshop. She sorted metals by touch, handing him the correct pieces without mistake. And every so often her glow would pulse gently as if breathing. But outside, things were not so calm. At the far end of the settlement, a guard on watch spotted something in the sky. Dark shapes moving against the stars. They were not merchant ships. They had no trade markings. By afternoon, whispers spread through the market. Unmarked ships, scanning the planet. Ethan didn't hear about it until a neighbor stopped by. "You hear the news? Might be trouble coming. Best keep your head low." When the neighbor left, Ethan frowned. Leora was sitting near the heater holding the crystal he had given her. "Leora," he said slowly, "do you know why strange ships might be looking here?" She froze, her glow dimming. "Shadeborn." "Shadeborn?" Her voice was almost a whisper. "They hunt the light bearers. My people. They want the star core inside us." Ethan's hands curled into fists. "Is that what your light is? This star core?" "Yes. They take it to make weapons. They took many of us. I escaped." Ethan understood now why she was alone, and why people feared her, not because she brought bad luck, but because trouble followed her. He crossed his arms. "If they come here, they'll find you." "I know," she said calmly. "They always find me." "Not this time," Ethan replied. "We'll keep you hidden." Leora tilted her head, listening to his heartbeat. "You would risk yourself?" He met her sightless gaze. "You're under my roof. That's reason enough." She didn't answer, but the faintest smile touched her lips. That night, the wind outside carried the sound of distant engines, low, predatory hums. Leora sat near the window, her head turned toward the sound, her glow flickering. "They are here," she murmured. Ethan checked the locks on the doors, his mind racing. His old cargo ship, the Silver Wing, was still sitting in the yard. It wasn't ready for flight, but if trouble came, it might be their only way out. He turned to Leora. "If we have to run, can you travel fast?" "Yes," she said, "but they will chase us." "Then we'll just have to be faster." She stood, still holding the crystal he had given her. The light in her skin grew brighter, casting soft shadows across the walls. "They will not stop," she warned. "But neither will we." Ethan felt a strange mix of fear and determination. The life he had known, quiet, simple, was over. But somehow, he didn't regret bringing her home, because deep down, he knew this was only the beginning. If you want, I can continue with part 3 where the Shadeborn arrive and Ethan has to protect her. The next day, the air above the settlement felt heavy, as if the sky itself was waiting for something to happen. Ethan worked in his workshop, but his mind was not on the machines. He kept glancing at the door, listening for trouble. Leora sat, quietly near the heater, holding the small crystal. She had not spoken much since last night. Ethan guessed she was listening, to the wind, to the ground, to the hum of engines somewhere far away. By midday, trouble arrived. A loud, deep sound echoed through the settlement, the low growl of heavy engines. Shadows moved across the street outside. Ethan stepped to the window and saw 3 tall figures in black armor walking between the market stalls. Even from a distance, he knew they were not from this world. Their armor was shaped like flowing smoke, their helmets smooth and dark. People moved out of their way without a word. "Shadeborn," Leora said quietly. Ethan's jaw tightened. "How many?" "3 hunters. More will follow," he thought fast. "We can't stay here." "They will search every building," she said. "If they find me, they will take me." Ethan grabbed his tool bag. "Then we leave before they get here." He moved to help her stand, but she stopped him. "Wait, I can feel them. They are close." Footsteps echoed outside. The hunters were moving down the street. One stopped to question a merchant. The other, two scanned the area with strange devices that glowed faintly red. Ethan guided Leora to the back of the workshop. There was a storage room with a hidden hatch that led to the yard. "We'll take the back way," he whispered. But before they could move, a sharp, metallic sound rang out. The workshop door sliding open. Ethan froze. The Shadeborn had arrived faster than he expected. A tall figure stepped inside, scanning the shadows. The air around him felt colder, heavier. Ethan's hand went to the small control panel on his wrist. "Stay behind me," he whispered to Leora. He pressed the button. From the ceiling, 3 defense drones dropped down, their small rotors spinning. They aimed bright stun lights at the Shadeborn. The hunter didn't flinch. He raised his hand, and the drone's lights flickered as if something was draining their power. Ethan swore under his breath. "Go!" he told Leora. He grabbed her arm gently and pulled her toward the storage room. The Shadeborn moved quickly, but Ethan threw a heavy wrench across the room. It clanged against the wall, drawing the hunter's attention for just a second. That was enough for Ethan to push Leora through the hatch. They crawled into the yard. Ethan's old cargo ship, the Silver Wing, sat on its landing struts nearby. Its silver paint was scratched and worn, but it was the fastest thing Ethan owned. "When it worked! Inside!" Ethan said. They ran up the ramp. Ethan sealed the hatch and rushed to the cockpit. Leora sat in the co-pilot's chair, gripping the crystal tightly. The Silver Wing shuddered as the engines roared to life. Outside, the Shadeborn moved into the yard. "They are coming," Leora said calmly. "I can see that," Ethan muttered, pulling the ship's controls. The engines sputtered. The Silver Wing had not flown in months, but finally, with a burst of power, it lifted into the air. A sudden blast of energy hit the side of the ship. The hull groaned. "They have weapons!" Ethan shouted, pushing the throttle forward. The ship shot upward, breaking through the dusty clouds. In the rear camera feed, he saw 2 black fighters rising from the Shadeborn cruiser above the settlement. Their sleek shapes glided through the air like predators. "Hold on," Ethan said. The fighters closed in fast. Red bolts of energy flashed past the cockpit. Ethan jerked the controls, sending the Silver Wing into a sharp dive. Leora's voice was steady. "Left, then up." "What?" "Left, now up." Ethan trusted her. He swung the ship left, then pulled up hard. One of the Shadeborn blasts missed by inches, hitting an asteroid fragment drifting nearby. Ethan frowned. "How did you—" "I can feel them," she said. "The light inside me. It senses the pull of their machines." She leaned forward. "Ahead, there is a narrow path through the debris. We can lose them there." Ethan saw it. A twisting gap between 2 massive chunks of rock. He pushed the ship toward it. The Shadeborn fighters followed, but the Silver Wing was more agile. Inside the asteroid field, the rocks drifted slowly, turning in silence. Ethan dodged one, then another. Leora guided him through the tightest spaces, her voice calm even when danger was close. When they finally broke free of the field, only 1 fighter remained behind them. The other had been forced to pull back. "They won't stop chasing," Ethan said. "They will not stop until they have the light," Leora agreed. Ethan glanced at her. Her glow was brighter now, and he realized something. The ship's engine readings were higher than before. "Leora, are you doing something to the ship?" She looked down at her glowing hands. "Maybe. The light can give life, even to machines. Ethan's eyes widened. You're powering the ship? She nodded once. Only while I hold this crystal you gave me. The silver wing surged forward, leaving the last Shadeborn fighter far behind. Ethan let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. We're safe, for now. But Leora's expression was serious. They will follow. They will call more. If we keep running, they will catch us, he frowned. So what do we do? There is only one way to end it, she said. We must go to them, to the heart of their darkness. Ethan stared at her, thinking she must be joking. You want us to go into Shadeborn space? That's suicide. Her voice was calm, certain. It is the only way to save the light. Ethan didn't know why, but he believed her. Outside the cockpit window, the stars stretched endlessly ahead. And somewhere in the distance, the hunters were already plotting their next move. The silver wing drifted in the shadows of a massive asteroid. The engines were quiet, only a low hum filling the cockpit. Ethan kept his hands on the controls, eyes scanning the radar for any sign of Shadeborn pursuit. For hours after their escape, the two of them had flown in silence. Leora sat in the co-pilot's seat, holding the small crystal close to her chest. Her glow had dimmed, but it was still there, a gentle pulse beneath her skin. Ethan broke the silence. We can't hide here forever. They'll sweep this field sooner or later. Leora nodded slowly. Yes, they will find us. If we stay. Then we need to decide where to go, he said. We can try the outer colonies, maybe a trade route where it's harder to track us. Or, he hesitated, or we follow your plan and head into their territory. Her pale head tilted toward him. You still doubt me? I don't doubt you, Ethan replied. I doubt my chances of surviving in Shadeborn space. Her voice was calm. If we run, we will be hunted until we fall. If we go to them, there is a chance to end it. Ethan leaned back, rubbing his forehead. You're asking me to fly straight into the nest. I am asking you to trust me, she said simply. The weight of her words filled the quiet space between them. Finally, Ethan sighed. All right, but if we're doing this, we'll need to move fast and quiet, and we'll need fuel. Real fuel, not just your glow keeping us alive. Leora's lips curved into the faintest smile. Then let us find what we need. They slipped out of the asteroid field, heading toward a small refueling station that orbited a dying moon. The station was old, its hull patched in places, and most of its lights were dim. Only one docking bay was open. Ethan landed carefully. Stay here, he told Leora. If anyone sees you, they will not, she interrupted. I will keep the light hidden. He hesitated, then nodded. All right, I won't be long. The station was nearly empty. A bored-looking dockmaster scanned Ethan's payment chip and gave him a long look. You're not from around here? Just passing through, Ethan replied, keeping his tone casual. When he returned to the ship with the fuel, he found Leora, standing by the cockpit window. What are you doing out here? He asked. Her voice was soft. Listening. The dark speaks. Ethan frowned. What do you mean? They are near. Not here. But close enough to smell the trail we leave. Ethan's stomach tightened. Then we leave now. The Silver Wing shot away from the station, engines burning bright, but it wasn't long before the radar beeped, 2 dots appearing behind them, Shadeborn scouts. Ethan cursed under his breath. They must have been watching the station. They will call more, Leora said. We must lose them now. Ethan pushed the throttle forward. The ship groaned as it accelerated. The scouts followed, closing the distance. Then Leora did something unexpected. She reached out and placed her glowing hand on the main console. Immediately, the Silver Wing's system surged. The speed gauge jumped higher, the hum of the engines deepened, and lights flickered across the dashboard. "What did you just do?" Ethan asked in shock. "I am giving the ship more life," she replied. The stars outside became streaks of light as the ship darted forward, slipping into a narrow cluster of drifting rocks. Ethan swerved hard, dodging one then another. The Shadeborn ships tried to follow, but Leora's voice guided him through paths that seemed impossible. Up, left. "Now down," she instructed, each word perfectly timed. One of the Shadeborn ships clipped a rock, spinning out into the void. The other hesitated just long enough for Ethan to dive into a canyon between two massive asteroids. When they burst out the other side, the radar was clear. Ethan let out a breath. "That was incredible." "You flew well," she said simply. "You guided me," he replied. "We make a good team." Her glow brightened slightly at his words. "Yes, we do." Hours later, they floated in open space far from any beacon or trade route. Ethan checked the navigation charts. "If we head in this direction, we'll be on the edge of Shadeborn territory in less than a day." Leora sat quietly for a moment before speaking. "When we enter, we must be careful. They will see me, even if others cannot." Ethan nodded. "Then we disguise ourselves. I can change the Silverwing signal codes, make it look like an old Shadeborn salvage ship. It's risky, but it might work." She tilted her head. "You have done this before." He smirked faintly. "Let's just say I've had to hide from people before." That night, while Ethan worked on the ship's systems, Leora sat in the dim light, holding the crystal. "Why did you help me that day?" she asked suddenly. Ethan looked up. "Because you needed help." "Others saw me. They turned away." "I'm not others," Ethan said simply. She was silent for a long time. Then she whispered, "When you gave me this crystal, you gave me more than a gift. You gave me a reason to keep moving." Ethan didn't know what to say to that. He just nodded and went back to work, but her words stayed in his mind. By the next morning, the Silverwing was ready. Ethan had changed its identification codes, dulled its exterior lights, and added false damage markings to make it look like it had been through years of rough work. Leora touched the side of the ship as they prepared to leave. "She is ready," she said softly. Ethan slid into the pilot's seat. "Let's hope she fools them." As the engines roared, the ship turned toward the dark, endless stretch of space ahead, a place few dared to go. Shadeborn space! Leora sat beside him, her pale face calm, her hands resting over the crystal. "This is where it begins," she said. Ethan glanced at her. "What begins?" "The fight to keep the light alive." And with that, the Silverwing slipped into the black, flying straight toward the enemy's heart. The stars stretched endlessly around the Silverwing, each one a distant sun in the vast blackness. Ethan kept his hands steady on the controls, his eyes scanning the radar. Every blip could mean Shadeborn patrols, every shadow could be danger. Beside him, Leora sat quietly, her hands resting over the small crystal. Her glow had brightened once more, pulsing softly in time with her heartbeat. "We're close," she said quietly. "The last light-bearer waits in the heart of Shadeborn space." Ethan swallowed. "I still don't know if this is smart." "Smart doesn't matter," Leora replied. "Only survival and purpose." He sighed. She always sounded calm, certain, as if she had already seen the outcome in her mind. The Silverwing slipped through the void, dodging detection grids and drifting mining stations. Ethan adjusted the ship's signals to look like a derelict salvage vessel. Its hull was marked, with dents and scratches, old patches of paint peeling off. The disguise was imperfect, but it might be enough. "They will scan us carefully," Leora warned. "Stay close to the asteroid belt. Let them think we are mining debris." Ethan followed her instructions. The ship moved slowly, gliding past. Tumbling rocks. From the radar, a massive shade-borne cruiser appeared, blocking their route. Its black hull absorbed the faint starlight. "They see us," Ethan muttered. "No," Leora said. "They see a ship, but not me." Ethan frowned. "Not you?" Her glow was barely visible, but he could see the pulse under her skin. "My kind is hidden in plain sight. They know what I am, but only if they touch the light." The cruiser scanned the area with red energy beams. Ethan held his breath as each beam passed dangerously close to the silver wing. He nudged the throttle forward. "They're slowing down," Leora said. "They sense something is off." "Off? The ship looks perfect," Ethan muttered. "They feel the light I carry," she explained. "You cannot hide it completely." Ethan realized then that her glow was more than light. It was energy, a force they could sense, even from a distance. He swallowed hard. Hours passed in tense silence. Finally, Leora pointed to a faint signal on the radar. "There," she whispered. "The last light bearer." Ethan adjusted the ship's course. On the edge of a gas giant's orbit, a massive structure floated. Black metal, spiked and jagged, with energy beams flowing like veins along its surface. At the center, a cage of glowing energy pulsed rhythmically. Inside the cage, a giant crystalline being moved slowly, its body refracting light in every color imaginable. The being's limbs were chained with metallic bands that glowed faintly. Feeding its energy into the structure around it, Ethan swallowed. "It's incredible." "Yes," Leora said softly. "It is the last of our kind. The last protector of the starseed." Ethan frowned. "Seeker of what?" "The starseed is energy that sustains worlds," Leora explained. "My people were once its guardians. The Shadeborn hunted us to take it for their weapons. They captured this one, and now it is the last hope." Ethan nodded slowly, the weight of their mission pressing down on him. "So we free it?" "Yes," Leora said, "but it will not be easy. The Shadeborn are near, and they know we come." Ethan and Leora guided the silver wing closer. The cages holding the light-bearer were surrounded by energy fields, patrolled by Shadeborn guards. One misstep, and alarms would echo across the sector. "I will help," Leora said, her glow pulsing brighter. "I can weaken their sensors, but only for a short time." Ethan nodded. "Then we do it fast." The moment came. Leora placed her hand on the console, letting her glow spread through the ship. The sensors on the cruiser flickered, red lights, dimming. "Go!" she whispered. Ethan steered the ship through a narrow opening in the structure, dodging energy beams and jagged metal spikes. The silver wing shuddered as energy arcs danced across the hull. Inside, Leora's glow intensified, spreading like a flood of light. The chains on the crystalline being shimmered, responding to her energy. "It's working!" Ethan shouted. The Shadeborn guards rushed to the cage, shouting orders, but their sensors were confused. They could not pinpoint the source of the interference. With a deep pulse of her light, Leora touched the cage directly. Energy arced across her hands and into the crystalline being. The chains cracked and splintered, sparks flying. The being stirred, its massive form flexing as it absorbed the light. Its glow was blinding now, filling the interior of the ship with pure energy. Ethan shielded his eyes. "It's incredible. It's alive!" "Yes," Leora said. "And it is free." The crystalline being extended its limbs, breaking the remaining chains. Energy flooded the cruiser, overwhelming the Shadeborn systems. Red lights sparked and died. Alarms screamed before cutting off. Ethan held the controls steady as the being's energy created a wave that sent the cruiser spinning in orbit. Leora's glow dimmed slightly, exhausted from the effort. "We did it," she whispered. "Yes," Ethan said, awe in his voice. "We actually did it. the crystalline being bent down, touching the silver wing with one massive hand. Energy flowed from it, stabilizing their systems and shielding them from detection. "It is grateful," Leora said softly. "It recognizes the light we share." Ethan smiled faintly. "I guess we're a good team after all." She nodded, her glow now gentle and calm. "Yes, together we can bring hope back to the stars." Outside the ship, the Shadeborn cruiser drifted, its weapon systems fried. The remaining scouts retreated, unwilling to challenge the freed energy. Ethan and Leora floated in space, surrounded by the glow of the last light-bearer. For the first time in weeks, there was silence. Not the quiet of fear, but the quiet of relief. "We're not done," Leora said, her voice calm but certain. "The starseed must be protected. The Shadeborn will come again." Ethan nodded. "Then we'll be ready. We have the light on our side." And in the glowing warmth of her hands, he realized that the small blind girl he had rescued was more powerful than anything he had ever imagined. The silver wing drifted through space, silent except for the faint hum of the engines. Ethan's hands rested lightly on the controls, his eyes scanning the stars for any sign of pursuit. Beside him, Leora sat with the small crystal in her hands. Her glow was steady, soft, like the pulse of a calm heart. But there was an edge of tension in her posture. She could feel it. The Shadeborn were aware of their actions, and soon they would come. "They will return," she said quietly. "I know," Ethan replied, "and we'll be ready." She tilted her head toward him. "Your light helped me awaken the last light-bearer. But there is more. You carry fragments of the starseed inside you, even if you do not realize it." Ethan stared at her. "Fragments? Me? I'm just human." "Humans once protected the starseed long ago," Leora said. "Your kindness, your courage, it awakened the energy within you. Together, we can amplify the light." He swallowed hard. "Amplify it how?" Her glow pulsed brighter as she placed her hand over his. Like this. Immediately, a warm energy flowed from her hands into him. Ethan felt it in his chest, spreading through his limbs. The glow in her body intensified, and his own skin tingled with a faint warmth. I can feel it," he whispered. "Yes," she said, "we are stronger together." The stars ahead shimmered as a massive Shadeborn flagship emerged from the darkness. Its black hull loomed like a shadow against the cosmos. Red searchlights swept through space, searching for the stolen energy of the starseed. "They've come for us," Ethan said, gripping the controls. "They have underestimated the light," Leora replied. The silver wing surged forward, her glow radiating through the ship. As the Shadeborn fired their energy cannons, Leora focused her power. The crystal in her hands glowed bright, amplifying her light and sending arcs of energy across the ship's hull. Ethan maneuvered the ship through a narrow field of asteroids. The Shadeborn's shots glanced off the rocks, but the flagship's main beam was aimed directly at them. "Now, Leora!" Ethan shouted. She extended her hands toward the viewport. Light poured out like liquid sunlight, striking the flagship. Energy collided with energy, and sparks danced across the metal hull of the enemy ship. Inside the flagship, alarms screamed as systems overloaded. The Shadeborn leader appeared on the main screen, a tall figure in black armor, his helmet glowing. "Faint red. You dare to strike my flagship with your stolen light?" he demanded. Ethan gritted his teeth. "This isn't stolen, it's alive, and it will not belong to you." Leora's glow grew even brighter. "The light belongs to life, to hope, to the stars." The flagship shuddered as the combined energy of Ethan and Leora struck it again. Panels exploded, and the beams of the starseed inside the last light-bearer expanded outward. The crystalline being pulsed with power, adding its own energy to theirs. The Shadeborn leader bellowed orders, but his voice was lost in the chaos. The flagship's systems failed, and its hull began to fracture. Ethan took a deep breath. "We need to finish this, now." Leora nodded. She placed both hands on the console, her glow filling the cockpit. Ethan mirrored her, putting his own hands over hers. Their combined energy surged outward like a wave of pure light. The silver wing shone like a star in the darkness. Energy erupted from the ship, surrounding the Shadeborn flagship. The massive vessel groaned and cracked, unable to contain the force of the starseed. A final pulse of light burst forth. The flagship's hull shattered, fragments drifting into space. The remaining Shadeborn ships retreated, blinded by the brilliance. The energy wave reached the edges of the sector, cleansing the region of the corrupting influence of the Shadeborn. Ethan collapsed into his seat, breathing heavily. Leora leaned against him, her glow softening. "We did it," Ethan whispered. "Yes," she said, her voice calm, steady. "The light is free again." The last light-bearer extended its massive, crystalline limbs toward the silver wing, its glow gentle now, warm and peaceful. It pulsed once, then hovered in space, its energy radiating outward. "It is safe," Leora said softly. "The starseed is protected. For now." Ethan looked at her, amazed. You guided me, gave me strength. I never imagined—" "You never believed in the light inside you," she said, smiling faintly. "I only helped you see it." He chuckled softly. "I guess you made me shine." Her glow brightened slightly at the words. "And you made me glow, not just with energy, but with hope." They floated together in silence, watching the last light-bearer drift toward a distant star cluster. The stars were bright, endless, and filled with possibilities. Days later, they arrived at a quiet green world, far from the battlefields of Shadeborn space. Rivers sparkled under twin suns, and soft winds carried the scent of flowers and grass. Leora stepped onto the planet's surface, her glow dim but steady. Ethan watched her. For the first time, she looked at the world with more than caution. She looked with wonder. "Do you see it?" Ethan asked, smiling. Her eyes flickered with light. Slowly, for the first time, her vision returned. She blinked, taking in the colors of the sky, the green of the trees, the warmth of sunlight on her skin. Ethan reached for her hand. "Welcome home, Leora." She smiled fully now, reaching out to touch his cheek. "Thank you, Ethan, for believing, for giving me a chance." He smiled back. "No, thank you. For trusting me. For showing me what the light can do." The small crystal she carried glowed faintly, its energy now calm, balanced. And together they stood under the twin suns, knowing they had changed the course of the stars. Somewhere in the distance, the silver wing waited, ready for the next journey. Together, Ethan and Leora would protect the light, bringing hope wherever it was needed. And as the planet's gentle winds blew around them, the glow in Leora's body shimmered, a soft promise. The star seed would endure, and humanity, through courage, compassion, and trust, would shine brighter than the darkness that ever tried to contain it. The end.